We're at the International Livestock Congress 2013 in Calgary, Alberta. Joined right now by Dr. Lowell Catlett, based out of New Mexico. Welcome today, Doctor.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Nice to be here.
What are you going to talk about today to the group of beef producers?
Try to get them to understand that we really got two segmented markets. One in the developed world, where we've got people like in Canada or the United States or Western Europe or some of the richer countries that have differentiated their product. We want steak prime. We want it certified to the source. We may want it organic or free range or whatever term we want to put on it. But those are great segmented markets that carry a price premium. And we've really never developed those in the developed world quite like I think we could, because there's a lot of money. And then the developing world, where people are, China's in the last 15 years had a fourfold increase in beef consumption. India, a country not known culturally or religiously for consuming beef, doubled in the last decade. So there's great emerging markets for traditional beef products, and you put them together, and the future's very bright for the beef industry.
So is the issue a supply for all these segmentation, right? So if we're talking about all these different categories, is it a supply issue to fit that market, or is it a demand issue? Well,
it's mostly a supply issue right now, because we know, for example, in North America that about 3% of the slaughter weekly of beef grades prime, or grades at the very top end. But high-end meat purveyors have said for almost 20 years we could sell twice that amount. But that takes a long-term commitment to genetics and feeding and other things. So we really haven't figured out a way to produce more prime beef, and the market's there. We've never really figured out a way to really get at, in the heart of the consumer, for example, do they really want it kind of sustainably grown, or are they translating that at the demand area? And we're finding out, yes, they are. They're willing to pay for it. We just haven't figured out a way to get it to them in the way that they really want it.
So in your opinion, why are we so hesitant? Why have we not taken advantage of this opportunity as you described it? Why are we so hesitant?
Well, part of it is that I grew up on a ranch in the Panhandle of Texas, and it's a very complex, capital-intensive operation, and you get it going and working, and it's hard midstream to all of a sudden go, now wait a minute, you want to know if my cow's been happy? You know, and all of a sudden it's like, they think they're happy. We think they do. So it takes a shift in understanding that people are, if they're willing to pay for that, then we have to make a shift in the production process, and that's no disrespect. We certainly have the ability to do that. We're highly educated, always willing to grab a technology, agricultural star. It's just it's tough to change those things. I liken it to when the consumers say, you know, I really would like an electric car. It took the car manufacturers a long time to gear up and change that production process, because they were used to producing pickups and convertibles and the things that they liked to produce, and the production line was ready for them. And then all of a sudden there's a group of people who say, I think I want a hybrid, and I think I want airbags everywhere. Yeah. And it took a while to adjust, but when the marketplace said they'd pay for it, people did adjust, and that's where we're at in the beef industry. When people will translate it to the dollars, the demand side, then we'll figure out a way to supply it.
So let's liken it to the car example you gave. What are the timelines here? Like, do you think that we're finally going to seize this opportunity in the next 5 years, or is this are we talking a 20-year horizon that we're going to?
Oh, a big chunk of it in the developing nations, it's immediate. They just want more beef, and those become then most of the time trade barriers or sometimes shipping or logistic issues that we have to overcome. But will they take the kind of beef we're producing now? Absolutely. We've just got to get it to them in a way that is timely, and because the demand is there, and those can be done immediately. The longer term one of, can we produce more prime or high end, highly marbled, melt in your mouth beef, that takes a longer commitment. So it's a combination of both, and it's a combination in both Canada and the United States of recognizing that we're immigrant-based populations. All of us are immigrants at some point in these two countries, and we have and rely upon massive amounts of immigration coming from the rest of the world. And while we may think that this Alberta steak is awful good, they may want that beef in a form that is more culturally acceptable to them, and
Wait
we've
a
got to
minute,
figure a way to do that.
You're trying to tell me that everybody doesn't want a 16-ounce big bone-in ribeye?
I think you and I do, but probably my friends from other parts of the world would say, I think maybe can we put that on a skewer and wrap it around some grape leaves and it'll be edible? I don't know. I'd rather just have a big old juicy steak.
And that's been the challenge, right? So
Absolutely.
the people that are, the livestock producers who are working hard to produce this quality product, a lot of times we thought of that product as how we would like to consume it. And everything else was sort of this fringe. You gotta be kidding me. That's how you're gonna eat it? That's not how you eat it.
That's right.
And we're the challenge here is to figure out, to think more like how other people are consuming the product.
See, it's the old axiom we call it in marketing. Marketing versus sales. Marketing says, I want to look at what the consumer wants, and then I'll go produce that. That's marketing. That's truly marketing. Because guess what? You don't have to sell the product. When I know exactly what you want is a 16-ounce T-bone or whatever, then I go produce that, and price is almost immaterial, and you get what you want. Sales versus selling is where I've got this product. I've got 16-ounce T-bone steak because that's what people want, but I've got to sell it to a culture or a group of people that really want little small chunks of beef that has been marinated for 24 hours. Well, I got to really lower price. I got to really be a good salesperson to get them to take that. So marketing is involved in understanding those kind of things. Because once you understand what people want, getting it to them is, and price is immaterial.
Well, that's interesting. You use the car example, right? If car manufacturers just went forward and said, "This is the kind of car we're going to produce," because as the maker, this is the kind of car we want to drive, they'd be out of business. And so we need to start thinking more like some of those car manufacturers.
Well, and for example, it was 1982 before the United States started shipping cars to Japan with left-hand drive, with right-hand drive. Then they're going, wait a minute, Japan drives on the same side of the road as Great Britain. So, but it was 1982 before we finally, I go, how many, I have an MG.
Yeah.
Well, Britain even understood that, guess what? You're going to sell an MG in the United States. You don't make it right-hand drive because guess what? They drive on the other side in America, so we're going to ship the other side. And they were bright enough to understand that. In the U.S., we kind of go, no, they'll still drive our American cars in Japan, even though it's the steering wheel's on the other side. So it finally took them a while to understand that. And when they did, they finally sold a few more cars in Japan.
So in the, obviously you're from the U.S. In the U.S., Canada is very similar in this regard. Are we finally starting to get it a little bit? Or is that sort of, are we making that left-hand or right-hand drive vehicle? Are we starting to get it where, we are starting to think about these new markets we need because exports are so important?
Oh, absolutely. We're getting there. We got complicated in the last 3 years in the United States with major kind of unprecedented droughts in most of the beef cattle producing areas. So we kind of been struggling with, we got the lowest cattle inventory we've had since just a few years after I was born. So for 60 years we've got the lowest cattle numbers. And it's not because people don't want beef. It's just we went through a little period right there. But yes, we are moving in that direction, and you're moving that way. You and Canada, just like us in the United States, we produce more beef than either one of us as a nation can consume, even though we like it. So we've got export markets, and people understand that. The next wave, though, Sean, really is that we're getting to the point where we're understanding, and the technology is there, to understand that while we group cattle together, say, in a feedlot, we're finally understanding now that each cow, or each calf, or each steer, or heifer is a little bit different. And so we feed a mass ration to the 100 that are in the pen, but every one of them's a little different. And the dairy industry understood that years ago when they started giving a ration to each individual dairy cow, mainly because they were milking her 2 or 3 times a day and could. But we're getting that into the beef industry where we're going to have the technology, and we have it today, where we can treat each one of those head of animals in the unique way that they are, and we're going to see efficiencies and profitability for each one, just in that feeding efficiency alone, explode because we've never treated them that way.
That's right. Well, it was great to meet you, Dr. Cadlett. Enjoy your time here in Calgary today at the Livestock Congress, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
I always do. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.